Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, I will be ravaging my way through Elden Ring as the legendary Vlad Dracula III, otherwise known as Vlad the Impaler. But before we begin, let's have a little history lesson for the uninitiated. Vlad the Impaler was a 15th century ruler of Wallachia, Romania. He received the name Vlad Dracula from his father Vlad Dracula II, who was a member of the Order of the Dragon. What that is, I have no idea. But Dracula, directly translated, means son of the dragon. But this wasn't the only moniker he received throughout his life. Oh no. He also earned himself the ferocious nickname Vlad the Impaler as a result of his notorious methods of punishment and cruelty. It's a pretty reasonable assumption that From Software actually got the idea of Messmer the Impaler from the legendary Vlad in the first place. Vlad's association with vampires originated from Bram Stoker's novel in 1887, simply named Dracula, where Stoker used Vlad's name and fearsome reputation for his fictional vampire count, and is the reason that in the 21st century we have come to always associate the name Dracula with vampirism. Okay, let's jump straight into the run, shall we? I picked the Bandit as my starting class as I had a feeling that Arcane would be useful in this run, and I aptly named myself Vlad the Impaler, after which I transformed myself into this truly menacing looking vampire dude. Pretty proud of myself for this one, not gonna lie. Now, to truly transform myself into Vlad the Impaler, I needed a weapon that was worthy of his name. But to get this unnamed weapon, I first needed a decent amount of runes. Cheese Grail, perhaps? Absolutely not. I'm Vlad the motherfucking Impaler, bitch. So I gunned straight for Margot, with no upgrades, nothing. Cause I'm just built different like that. I humiliate Margot with my great knife and the help of the godly butler parry. From Merchant Carley, we purchased the Blood-Starved Spear. Now, before I say anything about it, I've got to say that this weapon is not in the base game and is a part of the Clever Moveset mod pack, which I will leave a link for in the description. Okay, back to the spear. This thing is absolutely insane and is more than worthy of Vlad the Impaler. The moveset is a little complex, so let me walk you through it. Firstly, this weapon functions differently depending on whether you're two-handed or one-handed. The two-handed moveset is straight up nasty. Its unique skill, Blood's Embrace, allows you to disappear into a pool of blood where you are pretty much untouchable. This animation is very slow, unfortunately, and you can get punished pretty badly for doing it at the wrong time. However, if you are sprinting when you use the skill, you leap into a pool of blood, which is a much more silky and agile animation, allowing for some clean cinematic dodging. While in the pool of blood, if you input a light attack, you leap out of the pool with a nice bloody slash. But with a strong attack input, you launch yourself into the air and perform the nastiest wombo combo bing bang boom I've ever seen. I mean, just look at that. Holy. Now, for the one-handed moveset, I decided the best way to showcase its skill was to revenge myself upon some dude who once had the audacity to call me maidenless. Take that, asshole. Now, you may recognize this move as the devastating grab attack that Melania uses on you, and my god, it is satisfying to use. Of course, the only downside of this move is that it can only be used on NPC and human-like enemies, but that didn't deter me at all. Quite the contrary, in fact. I immediately made sure to skewer Patches like a shish kebab, just because he deserves it. Also, Jesus Christ, just look at me right now, if that isn't terrifying. So, the Blood-Starved Spear had already proved itself to be a force of nature against any NPC enemy. But what about a demigod? Oh! Oh! That was the coolest thing I've ever done. Yeah, it absolutely claps his cheeks. Godric truly did stand no chance, and is not even close to a match for Vlad the Impaler. But a devastating weapon is not enough. No sir. We needed some supplementary drip if we wanted to be a vampire. For the time being, I was using this cloth that I had picked up from Patches' chest, and an upgrade was certainly necessary. During my research for this video, I identified 3 outfits that I thought would be worthy of Dracula. Renala's robe surprisingly looked as though it would be some really nice vampire attire. I also set my sights on the knight's cavalry armor for that gothic feel, and then possibly the drippiest of all, Hoslow's armor. Unfortunately, both of these can only be found in the mountaintops of the Giants, so for the time being, we're off to Renala. But before facing her, I completely style on the Red Wolf, and further continue with my ravenous hunger for revenge by teaching Moongrum a lesson. Try and parry that one, bitch. Renala then goes quite as you'd expect, considering she has very low poise and I can also dip out of combat whenever I feel like it. She gets brutalized for the first time since Radagon left her. Now I know why. With her defeat, we pick up her robe from Enya, and I begin to start looking like the vampiriest vampire out there. So, if I wanted to get myself that drippy Hoslow armor, I've got to sign up to the Volcano Manor, because fighting Hoslow is one of the final bounty missions that you do for them. To join up, I talk to this lonely maiden in the swamp and offer to retrieve her stolen necklace from a ruffian who took it from her. I locate him very quickly and ask him very politely if he'd be willing to part with the necklace, and to my delight, he agreed. Just goes to show that sometimes a polite manner and well-reasoned argument is all you really need in this life. We give the lady back her necklace and next find her atop the Dectus Lift, where she kindly teleports us to the Volcano Manor, where we join up immediately. But it was at this point that I started to feel it. My thirst for blood started becoming insatiable, and the urge to impale everyone and everything was overpowering.
Hurry up, make a move, I'm gonna get hungry soon. I just need a little food, and you're just what I like. I'm your friend and I'm your foe, I'm your greatest nightmare. Got you under my control, come on over if you dare. I'll be Bonnie, you'll be Clyde, we'll wreak havoc everywhere. You're forever hypnotized by your greatest nightmare. I'm your friend and I'm your foe, I'm your greatest nightmare. Got you under my control, come on over if you dare. I'll be Bonnie, you'll be Clyde, we'll wreak havoc everywhere. You're forever hypnotized by your greatest nightmare.
Okay, now I know that montage was insanely awesome, but let me draw your attention back to the quest that we're on. I still need to acquire my special armor from Hoslow, so I barrel straight for him and give him the Impaler treatment that I'm sure you're familiar with by now. We pick up his armor and stop and marvel for a second at our new drip. Goddamn, that is clean. But I gotta keep this momentum going. The knight's cavalry armor is found in the consecrated snowfields, and for that we need both halves of the Haligtree secret medallion. The first one we can get from Commander Niall, who I just learned the other day is insanely weak to being parried. For some reason, both of these big boy wind-up attacks that he does can be parried by his tiny shield. Don't ask me how that's possible, but it's possible. Anyway, we pick up the secret medallion number 1 and head back to Leonia to pick up number 2. Turns out this Albinoric dude can't be impaled, but apparently he's insanely weak because he dies to like 2 grabs. Lol. Ensha, on the other hand, receives the well-deserved impaler treatment. I'm losing count at this point about how many people I've had impaled. Vlad would certainly be proud. We raise both secret medallions and arrive in the consecrated snowfields. The very first thing I do is change the time of day to night and introduce both of these fine horse-riding gentlemen to the Impaler 9000. Don't think they got along too well. But Finally, at long last, we pick up that edgy-looking knight's cavalry armor. Goddamn, I look good. Now, you would think that by this point I would have gotten bored with impaling people, but no. In fact, I was slowly becoming more and more addicted to the feeling. I even went onto the Elden Ring wiki to search up the location of every single NPC invader in the entire game so that they too could join the mountain of corpses that I had left behind. I had also started hearing rumors that there was some dude underground who was calling himself the Lord of Blood. I mean, the sheer audacity. As Dracula, we definitely could not allow that now, could we? So, to get underground, I have to penetrate yet another man with my bloody spear. How wonderful. I also decide to don his attire because although it was unplanned, the sanguine noble armor is actually pretty suited for a vampire theme. Anyway, we take this teleporter that the noble was concealing to arrive at Mohgwyn Palace. This view is absolutely breathtaking. Gotta be one of the coolest areas in the game. Too bad that a phony Lord of Blood lives here. Let's go teach him a lesson, shall we? Now, during my fight against Mohg, you may notice that my HUD is off the whole time, and this was actually because I wasn't supposed to kill him on this attempt. I had turned the HUD off to record some clean footage for the intro, and I accidentally killed him because I couldn't see his HP, and the fully upgraded spear was just doing an unprecedented amount of damage by now. Whoops. But this is actually a perfect time to showcase just how elegant this weapon can be, so enjoy. I think it's pretty clear who the real Lord of Blood is. Of course, after already killing Mohg, the stinky poopy fire giant surely stands no chance against the monumental strength and dexterity of Vlad Dracula III. And lo and behold, that oaf gets completely annihilated without putting up much of a fight. This lady then kindly teleports us to a floating castle in the sky, where I find yet another NPC who I promptly introduce to my stick of death. This time, however, I wasn't just impaling for fun. Bernal actually drops an item called the Blasphemous Claw, which I really wanted to augment Dracula's power even further, if you can believe it. The ability to parry the almighty Malekith the Black Blade is surely a power that Dracula would possess. I'd also decided to turn my HUD back off, because I'd actually secretly enjoyed the immersive feel that it gave me during the fight with Mohg. So, we managed to make short work of the Beast Clergyman, who I must say is significantly easier when you have the ability to completely disappear at will. Who would have thought? The Black Blade was equally mediocre and tried his best, but to no avail. I managed to land just one clean parry on him before completely fumbling the bag and pressing the wrong button so that I had minimal follow-up time. Idiot. I fumble even further when I just completely forget to parry his only other parryable attack and dodge through it instead. Idiot times 2. But we cleaned up Malekith nice and easy before being transported to the Ashen capital.
What a sad state of affairs. I commend your spirit, but alas.
Now, I thought about writing some joke here where I would pretend that I wasn't going to impale Gideon, just to impale him anyway. But then I realized that absolutely no one was going to fall for that. I'm sure that there was never any doubt in anyone's mind that this was always going to be Gideon's fate. You gotta respect him though. Even whilst getting viciously impaled, he still carries on with his monologue. After killing him, I also noticed just how bloody the scene was, and I realized that the mod creator must have surely drastically increased the amount of blood that gets shown. Honestly, not sure how I didn't notice that before. Anyway, get wrecked, Gideon. Godfrey and Horalu are much worthier opponents than puny Gideon, but just like the base clergyman, this fight is made significantly easier when you have the ability to disappear. Okay, except that time. Good lord. I don't know how he even caught me there. But yes, although very OP, the Bloodstarved Spear is probably not as OP as you think, because you've still got to use your brain and somewhat know the boss's moveset to punish them accordingly. It really is an awesome weapon to use though, and I couldn't have found one to more perfectly match Vlad Dracula.
Thy strength befits a crown.
Thy strength truly does befit a crown, doesn't it? So let's go get it, shall we? Radagon and the Elden Beasts are not exactly the most challenging bosses in the game, and by using Blood's Embrace at the right time, we can pretty much nullify their strongest attacks. For example, with Radagon's triple slam down, you can just yeet underground real quick and launch yourself up at the right moment. I didn't test it too thoroughly, but it seemed like Nihil was the only attack in the entire game that could hit you whilst you were in the bloody pool. Not even Horalu's Earthquake could touch you, which I thought might be able to. Good night, Radagon, my sweet summer child. The Elden Beast is equally cheesable. Ever struggled to avoid Elden Stars? Well, if you're Dracula, then it isn't a problem. I can completely avoid all of his attacks, and once again, make the leap of faith at a precise moment. A couple more attacks here and there, we managed to whittle down the great giant fish until we can finish the game in the most stylistic way that I've ever done. Holy shit, that was clean. But there is of course one more thing we need to do. During this video, I dished out a lot of punishment, and I mean a lot. Vlad the Impaler indeed. But now, I felt that I needed to atone for my sins, and in true masochistic fashion, I allowed Malenia to dish me up some sweet, sweet retribution. With that out my system, we challenge her once more to see if I was finally worthy of Vlad Dracula.